imagine having a job interview at McDonald's. And at the same time, you don't have anyone to watch your kids. So you bring your kids to McDonald's with you. You have them sit inside of McDonald's, and then you go to the interview at the same McDonald's. Now imagine being arrested for doing just that. That is what happened to a Georgia dad. This story is making a lot of waves, and it's making people ask questions and think about, when is too young to leave a child alone? Let's get into this. I'll tell you about my perspective, the experiences that I had as well. Georgia dad arrested for leaving young kids at McDonald's to attend job interview. Ex-NFL star Antonio Brown vows to help the family. So shout out to Antonio Brown for stepping up to do this, man, because you didn't have to do this at all. But this story is making a lot of news, folks. A Georgia father of 3 was arrested for leaving his young children unattended at McDonald's to go to a nearby interview. Chris Lewis, 24 years old, allegedly walked with his 3 kids from his apartment to the restaurant in Augusta just before 4:30 p.m. on March 22nd. The youngsters, ages 1, 6, and 10, spent their time alone in the restaurant, which has an indoor play area attached to the dining room. So this is Chris Lewis here, again, 24 years old, had a job interview at McDonald's. Lewis was seen leaving the fast food joint, returning shortly after to check on his kids before leaving again. A worried customer told the police, the outlet reported. Richmond County Sheriff's deputies arrived at the restaurant and located the unharmed, unaccompanied minors who remained inside the store until their father returned. Lewis returned to the McDonald's just before 6:20 p.m., where police confronted him for leaving his children alone in public. Lewis, who doesn't own a car, told police he left his children behind because he didn't want them to walk back to his home as he went to the interview. Police waited inside with Lewis until the children's mom arrived to take her kids home. Lewis was arrested and charged with deprivation of a minor. What crazy shit always got to go down at McDonald's or the Waffle House, right? People always want to call the cops at McDonald's or the Waffle House. The news of Lewis' arrest got the attention of former Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown. Story caught me by surprise. A dad just trying to find a way to make money for his family. I know he shouldn't just leave his kids, but some people don't have the means for babysitting. That's coming from Antonio Brown. He wrote that on GoFundMe. Brown says he hasn't spoken to Lewis yet, but he hopes to talk with the father. The 36-year-old claims said they set up a fundraiser with the help of GoFundMe to ensure the money would go directly to Lewis. Chris was on the pursuit of happiness, and sometimes people just need help. Antonio Brown wrote that on X. The father of 6 has donated $1,000 himself. So that was Antonio Brown there trying to help him out. And there's a panel discussion about this, and I want to dive in and say something here. First and foremost, we live in a society of people who don't want to be independent. And let me get into what I mean about that before we get into this panel discussion. I'm an older millennial, and I think some of you that are Gen X may be able to identify with me about this as well. When I was 10 years old and one of his children were, I not only was babysitting my cousins from time to time, but I got off the school bus, walked home from the school bus stop, unlocked the door, let myself inside my parents' house, locked the door, made myself a snack, sat down and did my homework until my parents came home from work when I was 10. So I grew up during a time where kids were taught to be more independent. And at 10 years old, I didn't have a babysitter, okay? My parents ain't had it like that. I didn't have a babysitter. I was an independent kid, and my parents taught me how to do what I needed to do and go where I needed to go. So when I heard this story, it was very weird to me. I'm like, one of the kids was 10? So the 10-year-old is not allowed to babysit their brother and sister? What has happened to society these days? I just don't understand. I don't get this. This story made no sense to me. There are many of people like me and my friends who at 10 years old were pretty independent. And we did babysit our brother or our sister or our cousins at 10 years old. So it was very weird to me. We didn't grow up with lawnmower parents. We didn't grow up with helicopter parents. That didn't even exist back then. For those who don't know, helicopter parents are parents that kind of hover over the children, kind of watching everything they do, their every move. Lawnmower parents are the ones who literally move obstacles out of their children's way so they don't have to deal with challenges and obstacles in life. These are things that came up later on. And back when I was growing up, that was not a thing. Number one, we didn't have social media. Number two, if you had a cell phone, not many people had cell phones at that time anyway, but we knew what to do. So imagine no cell phone, no social media. Yet I had no worry, no fear, walking home from the bus stop, going home, unlocking the door. My parents told me this is where we keep the spare key just in case. And I mean, back then that was normal. Nowadays, someone would have called the cops on my parents. Now, that's important when we get into this panel discussion, as they have different opinions about this. We want to get into this. This is Isaiah Factor Uncensored. Listen to what they have to say.
Interview ends badly for a man in Georgia. Chris Lewis was arrested March 22nd. Police say he left his kids in a McDonald's by themselves while he went to an interview for a job. He reportedly told police he did not have a car and lived nearby. Lewis said instead of making his three kids, who are 1, 6, and 10 years old, walk home alone, he decided to make them stay in the restaurant. There's been a lot and ongoing debate about this. If we can hold that, Sonora, grab that for me. A lot of debate about this on the Isaiah Factor Instagram page. We ask, what was the appropriate age for kids to be left unattended? 41% say 10 to 12. 39% say 13 to 15, and 20% say 16 years and up. Our guests are here on the Factor.
So let's just pause here for just a second. So the majority of the people that were polled said 10 to 12 years old was the appropriate age for a child to be left unsupervised. And it's just, to me, and the way that I look at it is like this. Even if you disagree, he has to go to jail for it. Here's someone who was trying to get a job, trying to do the right thing so he can take care of his children. And sometimes people don't have the means. They don't have the money to have a babysitter. They don't have the resources. They don't have that community that like my parents had when they were growing up. And that's become less and less. So a lot of people don't have it. People have to realize this is a class issue. And especially for a lot of us, growing up while Black, this was not uncommon. It was not uncommon for us to watch ourselves. It was not uncommon for us, our parents, to raise us to be a little bit more independent so that we knew what to do, what we need to do. I mean, come on. I knew how to make breakfast. I knew how to make lunch. I knew how to make dinner as a kid because my parents taught me. Nowadays, we have a lot of kids. People don't want to teach them how to do anything. Don't let them do this. They might get hurt. Oh my God, don't ride your bike over. You might get hurt. Something could happen. Don't do this and what. When I was growing up, it was no, oh my God, you might get hurt. It was toughen up. Life is tough. The first time a kid punched, this was when we were in elementary school. The first time a kid punched me, we were elementary school. We were fighting over a Twinkie. And I still never forget this. When I came home, my dad said, I showed my dad, told him what happened. And my dad said, did you get any licks in? And I said, I think so. My dad said, let's go over to their house. Let's talk to their parents. Because my dad taught me how to fight. My dad taught me how to defend myself. We went over there. We talked to their parents. And my dad said, when we got back to the house, he was like, yeah, she got a couple of licks in back. Nowadays, I feel like we're raising kids to just be defenseless. Let's go on to the panel.
Uncensored to talk about this, we have with us Davenport case manager Jay Bailey, therapist Dr. Bernadette Smith, and parent Matilda Saragosa. Glad to have you all on the Factor Uncensored. So, Matilda, let's begin with you as a parent. Your thoughts about this situation?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I feel there's still a lot of missing information for me to make that full assessment. Like, what was the length of time they were left alone? Were they inside of the McDonald's? Were they in the car? Can you clarify that for me really quick?
What we know is he was there from the kids were there from 4:30. He returned at 6:18. Okay. And then the mother was on the way as well, but we don't know if she was called by police or him after the fact, or if she was on the way anyway. So there, like you said, there are still a lot of unanswered questions.
Correct. I feel like at some point we encourage the community to stay vigilant and report these incidents, and I feel like that's what they did. But at the end of it all, like, what was the backstory to it? Did he intentionally just go in there to leave an application and they asked him to stay for an interview and it prolonged the waiting period for the children? You know, were they inside or outside? Temperatures? Like, what was the damaging? If they were inside of the public setting, was it a safe setting? Mm-hmm. You know, there were so many things that we could still try to figure out in order to rectify or remedy the situation.
And Dr. Smith, a lot of people are cautious on how they approach this report, because a lot of parents can see themselves in a situation where you don't have someone to provide for your children, or you can't afford a babysitter, and you have to provide for them, and you're caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah. Yep.
No,
So this is where the community support comes in, right? This is where we talk about that community building, which some people just don't have. And look, power to him, because he was trying to, let me go get a job, let me do the right thing. He could have easily chosen other options, which some people do. He could have chosen other options that were more dangerous. But he said, no, let me go do the right thing. Let's try to get, this job. Obviously did not have a babysitter. And here's the reality, folks. This is also a class issue. There are a number of people that I would consider working poor that can't find a babysitter. Number one, because it's too expensive, or number two, nobody just seems to be available. Also, nowadays, people are crazy. You can't just leave your kid put it this way, as a 10-year-old, if you have a 10-year-old kid, they're probably safer being by themselves than you leaving them with someone that you don't really know. But oftentimes the community isn't there. So when people say it takes a village to raise, where's the village? When my parents were growing up, they said everybody knew everybody on the street. My parents grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. Everybody knew everybody on the street. They knew what you were up to. My mom said that if she got in trouble, her mom would already know it before her mom got home. That was community. Everybody looked out for each other. People don't do that anymore. People on their phone. Everybody like this. Everybody like that. I don't know. So we just don't have that. A lot of people don't even know who their neighbors are. Who lives next door to you? Do you know? I mean, and I'm not trying to blame you, but I'm just saying society has changed. So now you don't have that village to help you with your kids. What do? Let's go on.
it's very tough. And I think that what this story is showing is when you do not have a village and when you do not have means and resources to provide for that care, what then are you doing? And so to your question, one of the things that I heard was that he left the kids in the play place. So they were playing at the McDonald's playground area. Again, was that maybe best judgment? Who knows? But what we also know, I feel it comes from a space of desperation. And so when you don't have the resources, when you don't have access to a village and you're trying to further your family by getting a job and doing the things in which we're told to do in society, and then he's penalized, again, being able to look at what resources can we then provide. Like for example, in Houston, there's the House of Tiny Treasures that provides childcare for people who are unhoused and kind of in that space.
All right, Jay, let's bring you in. Your thoughts on this as an expert looking from the outside, and your thoughts about parents who may be put in a position like this or put themselves in a position like this, depending on which way you're looking at it.
In this situation, I do think that we do need more information to properly assess his opportunities and his resources. But I do think that it takes a village, and so we need to call on our village when we do need help. And you can always contact, foster care agencies or just any social service setting that could help you in situations like that.
No, do not contact social services. Hells no. Do not contact social services and say, can you watch my kids? Might not get them back. Oh, this is just telling you from experience. But it's true, guys. Listen, look, I live right outside of Boston. I've seen kids younger than 10 get on the T by themselves. They have their little Charlie card. They swipe it. They go get on the subway by themselves. When I lived in New York, I saw kids who were younger than 10 who got on the bus and got on the subway by themselves to go to school. We have to keep this in mind that people have grown up. And I think you would see that if you go to New York, like you go to Boston, go to Baltimore, you will see the kids are a little bit more mature. That they have to, especially if you're living in that city life, you got to know how to navigate these things. You got to know how to use the subway. You think all the kids in Baltimore got a babysitter? Hells no. So I think these things are important. And I think there's been a lot of coddling of children nowadays in society. And so it's looked down upon. I knew people who were babysitting. Like I said, I babysat at 10 years old. At 10. So we don't have the village. We don't. Most of us don't. There's a show on Netflix. It's called Sweet Magnolias. It's a wholesome show. I watch it because it's wholesome. Like there's nothing on Netflix like it. It's kind of corny and cheesy, but it's also wholesome, right? And it's about people, they live in this town called Serenity. And you know what I love about the show? Everybody in the town look out for each other. Everybody in the town, everybody's looking out. How's so-and-so doing? How's your restaurant doing? How's your this? How's your that? Da-da-da-da. That's what I love about the show because I don't see that in real life. I don't see it. A lot of people stay to themselves. And so what are you supposed to do? So it's a class issue. He needed help. And it's unfortunate that nobody was there to help at that time. Free that man. There's a number of people on social media. Kim Iverson said the same thing. She said, when I was 10 years old, I was babysitting my siblings like by myself. Like a number of people, conservative, leftists, etc., who totally don't agree with this. They're like, what the hell is going on? We have to do better. As a society, we have to do better. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.